Hello, fantasy football family. I welcome you to Off the Line Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Eugene. I'm one of your hosts on the show, and this is our first show of the year. You can find me on Twitter at Fantasy Genes. That's Genes. You can also find our official Twitter page at Off the Line FF. On this pod, we'll be talking all things fantasy football from a redraft perspective, analyzing certain players and their situations, and hopefully in a language that you'll be able to understand and apply to your fantasy squads. Now, to my other host of the show, my boy Ike. What's going on?
What's happening, man? What's happening? You all can
Chilling,
find me
man.
on Twitter at just_Ike09. And yeah, man, we're at the halfway point in the season. Today was the NFL trade deadline. Unfortunately, in per usual, it went through, came and gone with the whimper. We hear all these names on the blog saying, "Oh, where is this player going to end up? Where is that player going to end up?" But at the end of the day, it's all smoke, no fire. There's a lot of teams that they don't want to make moves because either their front offices are too cowardly, or they're too stubborn, or they're too scared to pull the trigger on deals. Whereas we have other teams like the Rams who are often willing to go all in, and year in and year out. I mean, we've seen it since McVay has taken over as coach, right? I mean, I don't even think he's had a first round pick.
He don't care about those picks, man.
He doesn't care about those picks. It's picks over players. I'm sorry, players over picks. I'm an advocate of that on Twitter. I should start. I should go ahead and put that on my bio. But while we're on the topic of the Rams, they're balling right now, and they're led by one man named Cooper Kupp, because he is off to a historic start. I think he's on pace for breaking. I think he's on pace for being fourth in total, second in catches. I think third in catches. He may break the NFL record for receiving yards. He's on pace for 1964, I believe. I think that ties Calvin Johnson, and he's on pace for 22 touchdowns, which is just shy of Randy Moss. Randy Moss is 23 in 2007. But yeah, he has 900 yards and 10 touchdowns already, and then we're only in week 9. Like that's insane. And he already has, and this is funny, he already has more fantasy points this year than he had all of last year.
It was crazy.
I mean, if there's no doubt, I mean, I don't want to bury the lead here, but we have another segment later on in the show called Midseason Mvps. It's pretty unanimous that he's the guy that is our midseason MVP, because he's just on another level with Matthew Stafford over there in LA. Obviously Derrick Henry's injury was unfortunate, and he kind of they might have been 1A and 1B, but as of right now, there's one clear-cut guy that's that's just balling out of his mind right now, and that's Cooper Kupp. And
Yeah, very true. Now, I know you started diving into, start talking about players or whatnot, but we didn't even let them know where we from, who we rep, anything like that.
Yeah, kind of got a little ahead of myself there,
But like I said, my name is Eugene. I'm born and raised in Dallas, Texas, so you already know I'm a Cowboys fan. So put your stars up, 6-1. We here? So all things Dallas over here. I've been playing fantasy for probably since like 2005 in college, and just something that I've grown to love over the course of time. Just playing redraft and dynasty, but definitely love the redraft aspect of fantasy football. Well, how about yourself?
Yeah, man. I think I was first introduced to fantasy football back in 2007, I believe. I was watching a football game on TV, and I kept seeing these commercials like periodically for fantasy football, and I just think to myself, like, what is that? And these NFL.com commercials for fantasy football. So I just I hopped on a computer one day and did some research on my own and tried to see like what it's all about. And I read through things, and I joined some random leagues, and I got hooked. My first, my very first league, I'll never forget this. I had a chance, and this is 2007, I think. I had a chance to draft the fourth round. It was the fourth round, and I had a chance to draft Vincent Jackson or Randy Moss. And this was obviously the year that, Randy Moss's first year in New England. He had just left Oakland. He looked like a
Yep.
shell of himself.
Yep.
Didn't know what to expect. And then,
Yep.
Vincent Jackson, he had been balling with the Chargers.
Yep.
So I was like, who has most upside? And then I just ended up picking Vincent Jackson
Vincent Jackson.
inexplicably. And then I didn't know, that Randy Moss would go on to have such a historic season. Needless to say, that's my first bonehead decision that I've ever made. And I'm sure, over the course of time, I've made, other bonehead decisions in fantasy football. But I think that was the first time I was introduced. And like Gene said, it's we're both from Dallas. We met back in 2010, and then we started playing fantasy together. Maybe just shy of 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. And yeah, it's Dallas Cowboys over here as well. Got the hat on, representing 6-1, man. Let's get to it.
All right. Well, enough about us. Now let's go ahead and start diving into like some of the players that people might be interested in hearing about in situations that might need to be uncovered a little bit. So usually we'll start the show off talking about our reactions and takeaways from the previous week. So let me start off with Monday Night Football, the Chiefs offense. I don't know. It seems like people have figured them out. Like a lot of people playing cover 2 shell, and you're not gonna beat us deep, and y'all just need to figure it out. Just watching the Chiefs offense, it's clear that you can't really trust anybody besides Tyreek and Kelsey. Kelsey himself struggled.
I don't even think you can trust Kelsey right now. Kelsey has not had the last couple of games have been pretty bad for him. So I don't know if you can really trust him.
You got to start Mahomes, but he looks pressed. He doesn't have time, and he doesn't want to throw short, but that's all you can do. You just look at the YPA. It's 6 yards per attempt for the last 6 games. That's not even in his mind. Like you can just look at him when he's trying to play. Like, man, where's my deep ball at? And just can't do it.
He's not connecting on it.
Yeah.
And I think I saw a stat, earlier. He was only 2 of 13 on passes that traveled 10 yards down the field, and that was his career low. So we're literally seeing the worst of Patrick Mahomes like right now, as we speak. Now he has 10 interceptions on the season. If we watch the games, you would see that at least half of them have bounced off of his receiver hands, but he's still making a lot of errant throws, and he's not setting his feet, and he's a little jittery in the pocket. He gets off of structure too quickly. Like you said, he's pressing. So we're trying to figure out what's going on with them, but they're just a difficult team. They're 4-4. They're exactly what a 4-4 team would look like. There's some high highs and some really low lows. As evidenced against the Titans 2 weeks ago. So there's a lot to figure out. But again, if you're going to start anybody from this team, it's going to be Mahomes. He'll still give you a decent rushing floor. He'll still give you some touchdown passes. And then I'll also start Tyreek Hill. He had 18 targets last night. But only for 94 yards, which is really uncharacteristic of him. He's usually getting the ball, deep down the field. But again, Mahomes didn't really connect on those passes last night. So I would like to think that better days are ahead for this Chiefs offense. But that remains to be seen. They have Green Bay coming in, and they're as hot as ever. They haven't lost since week 1. They have Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones to contend with. So. Good luck to them.
Now, I'll be remiss if I didn't touch on this player that recently just got hurt. Your boy King Henry.
Yeah.
I know a lot of fantasy owners are probably just hurt right now because he's done for the year, and I'm pretty sure that's somebody that people. I'm sure most of these teams that had him, there had to been winning records because by himself he was destroying everybody that's in his way. But for the owners, if you're trying to look for who you want to replace for him, I mean, it's gonna be tough because you just signed a 36-year-old running back in AP.
Yeah,
You have McNichols, which they've only used for passing down situations. They just signed Deontay Foreman to the practice squad. I'm not sure if you're gonna trust that.
yeah.
And then you got was it Mekhi Sargent? I mean, I don't
They
even.
they just waived him today. They waived him
Oh
today.
well.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
yeah.
it's just
So
going to
I
be those three now. It's just going to be those three. So you don't know. I mean, you don't want to blow a lot of fab on them. We'll touch on waiver wire pickups a little bit later on, but
yeah
you don't want to blow a lot of fab on any of these guys. Unless you're the Henry owner, and if there's a guy that you want to touch on, or if there's a guy that you want to spend money on, it should be. At least me personally, I think it should be McNichols because most people play in PPR leagues. If you play in standard leagues, I don't know if this is the show for you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. This is for all fantasy players. It's all fantasy players. But no. But I think for my money, I think it's McNichols. He's already in the passing game role, and that role is going to pretty much expand now. The Titans are going to be forced to throw more over the course of the season. They'll have to funnel the offense through Tannehill, AJ Brown, and Julio Jones. So yeah, I think more passes are coming in for that Titans offense, and staying on that Titans offense. I did mention AJ Brown. He has been a monster over the last
Mhm.
3 weeks. This last week, he 10 catches, 155 yards, and a touchdown. He caught it like a 10-yard out, and then just turned on
Got
the
out of
jet.
there. Yeah,
Just got
got
out
out
of
of
there.
there.
Just got out of there and left everybody in the dust. It was amazing. This is what AJ Brown does. Like, he's fully healthy now. He's past that hamstring injury. And when he gets in the
And
open field, just look out. Just
yeah,
look out.
and he's past the Chipotle or whatever that was bugging his stomach for 2 weeks. So
Yeah, it was the Chipotle. He inexplicably went to Chipotle. We all make mistakes. We're all young. I think he's only like 24 years old. We're
yeah,
all young and dumb sometimes, but uh, he's past it now. I mean, he's averaging 25 fantasy points per game over his last three on a 33% target share. That's insane. So while Julio Jones has been out, I mean, he's taken over that role and showed that
yeah,
I'm still here. Don't let those injuries fool you. I'm still a baller, and I'm still gonna be showing out.
yeah. Shoot, another person that's been showing out through the air is Michael Carter.
Yeah,
Your boy's getting all the receptions, man. Like,
yeah,
he's the last couple of weeks he's looked really good. And I mean, for PPR standards and just overall, like his role in the offense with the Jets right now.
yeah,
I mean, over the last 2 weeks, he's had 15 out of the 20 running back rushes. He's had 9 for 95 receiving this past week.
yeah,
28% of the target share. Uh, I mean, Mike White, he likes throwing the running backs, and Michael Carr has definitely seen the benefits of that.
yeah, definitely. From one Michael to another Michael. We'll go from Michael Carter and the Jets to Michael Pittman with
Mm,
the Colts, because his breakout is on. His breakout is on, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have Michael Pittman on your roster, you probably drafted him in maybe round 10, round 11. You're reaping the benefits because he had another stellar game, 10 catches for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns on 15 targets.
mm,
Carson Wentz is finally using him properly the way he should be used. That's a 31% target share. That's crazy. That's elite usage. So anything above 25 to 30% target share. We'll be touching on target share a lot throughout the course of this podcast, but just
yeah,
just for future reference, target share at 30 in the 30s, that's elite usage. And
yeah,
that's when the top scoring guys get. So he has 4 touchdowns over his last 4 games, and he's ninth in the NFL in receiving yards currently. So yeah, he's on a roll now, and I like to see what that Colts offense is. How that Colts offense continues to blossom with him
yeah.
in it.
Carson Wentz.
Carson
Um,
Wentz.
and just talking about another wide receiver, I know people got that late scratch from Calvin Ridley before them 12 o'clock games. Um, he came out and said that he basically needed to take a mental illness break. for whatever he's going on with him in his life. Just want to hopefully that you want to pray for whatever he's going on, and I mean, hopefully we see him back, but he's still a human,
Yeah.
And then within that, you still, I mean, we still playing the game of fantasy. So I mean, when we saw that, we just automatically assume, okay, you can see your boy Kyle Pitts get more targets or this and that. It didn't happen this past week. They had Stephon Gilmore with the Panthers. He was activated this past weekend. He shadowed him, and he was on that Law and Order. He was locked down.
Yeah, he was on Rikers.
Yeah, yeah. So, but just looking ahead, with him being out, you're gonna see Hayden Hurst get more looks. You're gonna see Mike Davis. Mike is gonna get more touches. I mean, he's not running the ball, but they'll throw him the ball. So,
yeah.
And then something called Tarjay Sharp is gonna get some more some touches too.
Don't disrespect Cordell Patterson because you didn't mention him.
I mean, that's without even saying.
You got to mention him though. You got to mention him. Cordell Patterson. He's the main guy there right now, getting all the targets and getting the looks. Him and Kyle Pitts. That's where the Atlanta offense should funnel through, just those two players, at least in the interim until Calvin Ridley figures everything out. Which we hope he does, so he can get back to us as soon as he can. So yeah, what did you have? What else stood out to you from this past week?
I think your boy Antonio Gibson, I mean, he's not even like, we already know all the talk from the beginning of the season. Oh, we're gonna use him like CMC. He's gonna get all the touches.
I knew that was a crock from the get go. I knew it was. I just
Riverboat Ron always telling the story, man.
Yeah.
But during the course of the season so far, we've seen like his passing game usage just dwindle. Now, I mean, this past week he didn't get anything. Yeah. He's been dealing with the shin injury, and it's to the point now. I mean, you saw Garrett Patterson. He got half the rushing share this past week.
Yeah, that's concerning. That's concerning.
Yeah, it's very concerning. So hopefully, during this bye week they can figure it out. I mean, if he's still not healthy when they come out, Garrett Patterson would definitely be somebody you might want to looking to add in if he's going to get at least half the rushing share. So that's another thing that stood out to me.
Yeah. Speaking of concerning, we want to talk about we briefly want to touch on the Lions. DeAndre Swift, he was in an absolute smash spot against the Eagles with Jamal Williams out due to a hip injury. He had 17 touches and only had 41 yards, and he lost the fumble. We like the 17 touches, but we would have liked for him to do a lot more with them, with those touches. It's kind of disappointing. Again, he was a PPR RB2 entering the day. It was just an all-around bad performance by that Lions offense, and Jared Goff is terrible. He can't throw the ball down the field. They don't have any receivers. So the Eagles, they had a pretty stellar game plan. Crowd the box and make Jared Goff beat you. And in most cases, he's proven that he cannot beat you. That's just kind of weighing down a lot of their offensive weapons, including DeAndre Swift. They gave him the ball 17 times and he wasn't able to do much with it. So that was a big disappointment.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I know the last point I want to make is your boy Justin Fields. First game that you don't have Matt Nagy even on the sideline. It looks like they kind of unlocked him a little bit. Some people on Twitter, like our boy Ray G, like to use the word Konami code for running back for quarterbacks that can run. And he definitely looked like a Konami code type quarterback, being able to use his legs a little bit more than he has. He had 5 runs over 10 plus yards. I mean, he had he had over 100 yards rushing this past week.
Yeah, 10 for 103.
Yeah, and what's so crazy is that he's the second quarterback this year that's run over 100 yards, and the only other one has been Lamar Jackson. So
yeah,
I mean, they didn't get the win, but the offense looked just a little bit better. He's still struggling to connect with Allen Robinson, but it looked a little bit better because he was able to expose the defense with using his legs.
Yeah.
And I know everybody saw that one run where he was like looked like he was dead to rights. Spin. He did a 360 spin.
Yeah.
Gave him a little shimmy and then ran down the sideline for what 30-yard gain or something crazy.
Yeah, it was a fourth down. It was 4th and 1, and then I think it might have been a design bootleg. He trips, and then he reverses his field, shakes a defender, and then just takes off down the sideline. Has a couple of blocks downfield, and it cuts back in for a touchdown.
Yep.
But on that day, he had 5 runs for over 10 plus yards, and that's I think that's the most by a quarterback all season. So like that, Justin Fields. I mean, without Matt Nagy's training wheels this week, he looked like he was a little bit unlocked. We'll see what happens next week. With Matt Nagy back on the sideline, but this is the type of production we expected to see from Justin Fields at some point this season. So I'm glad we at least got it for 1 week. We just hope that it continues.
Yep, definitely. And just staying on that note of quarterbacks. I mean, we had you could have called this week also the revenge of the backups, because I mean we had our boy Cooper Rush coming in relief, and he balled out. Like he looked poised versus the Vikings. I mean, Lamb went 6 for 102 on 8 targets. You had Cooper 8 for 112. I mean 122 in the touchdown.
Yep. 13 targets.
He kept our top 2 wide receivers relevant. Yeah. You had Geno Smith. He got a get right spot versus the Jags. So if you played Lockett, if you stayed patient with Lockett, he showed love to you. Yeah. Also, you had DK. I mean, the first touchdown pass that he had, oh my god,
it was just grown man stuff. Grown man stuff, man.
But I mean, yeah, Metcalf with 2 touchdowns. So I mean. And then you also had Trevor Siemian when Jameis got hurt. Unluckily, he came in and he looked solid. So definitely backups. They did their thing this past week.
Yeah. And then one backup you didn't mention yet was Mike White. And that'll lead into our next segment is for fantasy MVP of the week. He was actually the top passer on the week at 405 yards passing. Like, who would have saw that coming? Had 3 touchdowns, had 2 early interceptions, and they were both off of tip passes.
Yeah,
they're off tip passes, and I think he started the game 10 for 10 against the Bengals defense. The Bengals defense has actually been pretty good this year. I mean, they held Lamar Jackson and the Ravens at 17 points the previous week. So I mean, it was one of those things that don't make sense. It's one of those any given Sunday kind of things. But what we saw though, I mean, he didn't even take that many chances down the field. A lot of those passes were check downs, and he allowed his receivers to just run after the catch. And they got a lot of chunk yards, a lot of chunk gains. I think Ty Johnson had this one beautiful check down, and he shook a couple of defenders, tightrope the sideline for like a 20-yard touchdown.
Yep.
And then I think Keelan Cole had a near one-handed.
Yep. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
They overturned it, but that was an awesome catch, an awesome effort by him.
Yeah.
They had a lot of receivers catch at least like 5 or 6 passes. Elijah Moore, the rookie from Ole Miss, had 6 for 67. Yeah. So that was obviously his best game as a pro. That's a guy that you guys should go ahead and go after on the waiver wire if you can. It looks like Corey Davis might miss this week's game. They play on Thursday night. It's a short week. Yep. He was out this past week, so maybe we'll start seeing Elijah Moore be used more. Especially used more, right? I said more. We'll see a lot of Elijah Moore. They'll start utilizing him. Maybe in some reverses, a lot of screen passes. You never know. So that's another takeaway I have. Mike White just balled out.
He did. Now, do you think there's going to be a controversy once your boy Zach Wilson gets healthy, or if Zach Wilson is out a little bit longer, do they even play your boy Joe Flacco?
Well, the quote that there was a quote that Robert Saleh had like after the game. He was just saying, I think they were asking him about the long-term future of the quarterback position at the Jets, and I think he had some sort of hyperbolic message about like,
oh yeah,
we don't know, we don't know, but I think he's definitely starting this week. He's definitely starting next week, and I don't know. I don't think there's going to be controversy yet. We'll have to see how Mike White does against the Colts this week. They're expected to be trailing in this game. Maybe, hopefully, he can follow it up. Obviously, he's not going to throw for 405 yards again. So we'll see what happens. I don't know how long Zach Wilson is going to be out. I think he's out for another couple of weeks. Was it the short term IR that was he placed on IR or no?
I don't. Was he placed on IR? I want to say he.
I don't know.
I want to say he was, just because because you signed Joe Flacco. I want to say he was, but I can't remember for sure if he was.
Okay, so he avoided IR, so he's not on IR yet. But so I guess it'll be maybe
next week, the next game.
He's week to week, so maybe we'll see him in week 10, maybe not. But if Mike White continues to play the way he is, then we'll see. We will see.
Yeah,
I don't want to overreact after one game. It was a great game. Not gonna lie. He actually used to be on the Cowboys. Believe it or not.
Yeah,
I think he was wasn't he our backup at one point, or one of our third stringer? Or
he was third string, but I mean he was always on practice squad. So
yeah.
Now,
hey, good for him though. Good for him.
Yeah. So we do have our MVPs, and we also have our least valuable player of the week. We actually had a few of them, but I think for most fantasy players, when they saw Miles Sanders get hurt, we just assumed that this player was going to get a bigger role. Kenneth Gainwell. I think we shot our load with this one, and he didn't do squat. I mean, he pretty much watched the first 3 quarters of that Eagles game, and then they were like, all right, Kenneth, get in there and do something in the fourth quarter when there's nothing to play for. I think he had 12 of his 13 carries in that fourth quarter.
Yeah. So through 3 quarters, he had 1 touch, and then in the fourth quarter, he had 12 carries, which made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I think now looking back at it, we should have been. I guess we should have seen this coming, kind of, because he is the passing down back. They never really used him as a rusher. So. And when Miles Sanders got hurt during that last game, it was Boston Scott getting the carries.
Got the rushing touchdown,
yeah, got the rushing touchdown. He got both inside the red zone. It was him inside inside the 5. It was Boston Scott running, not Gainwell. So, I mean, I just wish that I would have used a little more insight, because I know I traded for him this past week.
You did.
Luckily, I didn't.
We thought it was the ski mask effort by you.
No. Nah, that's just a side note, but yeah, we just need to be in perspective that he is the passing down back. He is not the direct. He is not the backup to Miles Sanders. Clearly, that's Boston Scott. So, but luckily for us, this coming week, they shouldn't be in the position where they just run the clock out. Like, they're gonna have to throw the ball to stay in the game. So
yeah, they have the Chargers this week in Philadelphia. So. That'll be a much more competitive game. They're not going to be up 38-0 at the end of the 3 quarters. So
no, but the Chargers are pretty sucky at stopping the run too. So hopefully we'll see what happens. But yeah.
And then another sign that we kind of ignored, I think, leading up to the game, was when they elevated Jordan Howard off of the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
When they elevated him, a lot of us, we had tunnel vision. We had it stuck in our minds that, oh no, it's Kenneth Gainwell. Jordan Howard is nothing to worry about, this, that, and the other. But, I mean, he was getting first-team reps. He started getting first-team reps, and then before you know it, he was getting goal line carries in the game and scored 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think we have to pay attention to when we see moves like that in fantasy, that we need to apply that to, like, do we want to spend money on this dude for a waiver pickup? Like for instance, for Jordan Howard, I mean, Miles Sanders is on the short-term IR. Jordan Howard signed off the practice squad, so we got to remember that he can only be signed off the practice squad twice before the Eagles have to figure out, do they want to sign him for the rest of the year or let him go. So it'd be very telling what we see from the Eagles this week, if they want to use that last one on him now, or they want to just wait and use it next week, or what. We'll see what they do with Jordan Howard, which makes it tricky. If you didn't spend money on him, he's still out on your waiver wire. Do you want to go and use some money on him this week? So just a chance you're gonna have to take. So
Yeah, I honestly I would not recommend using any fab on Jordan Howard. I think Boston Scott is the guy, and then Kenny Gainwell is going to be the guy in passing downs, especially with the upcoming schedule that they have, especially with the Chargers coming in this week. I highly recommend you take you should prioritize Boston Scott over Jordan Howard, definitely, because if you try to go with Jordan Howard, you're just chasing touchdowns, and as we know, touchdowns are pretty volatile in fantasy football, and touchdowns plus volume, you may be able to chase that, but he's not really getting a lot of volume. So, or he's not really expected to get a lot of volume.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind.
Yes, and always, I know for sure my number one rule when I look at fantasy is that you want players that get the most opportunity, because opportunity equals potential fantasy points.
Exactly.
So potential output. So just keep that in mind. All right. So to our next segment, my favorite segment of our show that we came up with is a segment called Cap or No Cap. For our listeners that might not know what cap means, cap is another word that us folks like to use when we say somebody's lying. We just say, "Oh yeah, that's cap." Or
so for instance, like if Gene says he's like the greatest fantasy football manager of all time, I'll say,
no
that's clearly cap because it's cap. That's kind of what we mean by cap. But no, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're all right. All right, so I'll run down some questions or some scenarios, and I'll have tell me if it's cap or no cap, and then if I feel need, and then I'll double back and give my opinion on it too. So the first one is Michael Carter's usage. Is it real, cap or no cap?
I think it's real. He's been trending. It's no cap. First of all, it's been trending in the positive direction over the last 3 weeks. His fantasy points have gone up from I think he had 14 3 weeks ago to 16, and then this past week his usage skyrocketed. He was the overall RB1 on the week. So the last 2 weeks he's played 71% snaps. He's had 67% of the running back touches. And he's at a 25% target share. Like, that's bell cow usage. Like, that is true elite running back usage. He's at 80% of the running back touches inside of the 10-yard line. So if your running back is playing inside the 10-yard line, there's obviously they're in a scoring position, and if whoever's on the field around that time, they're more than likely going to get the opportunities to score fantasy points. So yeah, I think this is no cap. Michael Carter he's finally starting to come into his own. Tevin Coleman, another running back on the Jets, has been injury prone. What else is new? That too. And Ty Johnson is just kind of like a change of pace guy. He'll be on an occasional passing downs, but it seems like Michael Carter has full command of this backfield, and this is definitely no cap.
Yeah, I want to say I want to co-sign that. I want to say that's no cap. The only caveat is that we did see we did see P. Ryan, LaMichael P. Ryan. He did snake a touchdown.
Did he really?
On one of his few carries, he got a touchdown.
I didn't know he was still a thing. I thought he was I thought he was like a healthy scratch.
Oh, sorry. No, he wasn't. I'm sorry. He didn't get a touchdown, but he did get a carry. But never mind. We don't need to worry about him.
Okay.
I think the main thing is that when Zach Wilson returns, are they going to continue to use the running backs in the passing game? Because Zach Wilson did not check down when he was playing. And I think he need to do that more because their O-line is not good. But yeah, I want to say it's no cap. All right. Second question. We did see this player. He just got placed on the COVID list before we recorded, but still, regardless, if he didn't have COVID, do you think Nova Fant is a trustworthy starter? Cap or no cap?
That's a tough question because tight end is such, we'll use this term quite a bit. Tight end is such a dumpster fire. It's really hard to find a good tight end in fantasy football. So I'm gonna say Noah Fant as a trustworthy starter. I'm gonna say it's no cap. Just it obviously pre-COVID. I mean, we had created the show sheet prior to learning that he got placed on the COVID list. But I would say he's still a viable starter because you'll get some good weeks here and there. He was seeing 90% of the snaps. While his fellow tight end 2 was out, he only saw 4 targets on 21 routes this past week. And Alvaro got 3 targets on 12 routes. Jerry Jeudy is healthy now, and Cortland Sutton's on the outside, I think that would still open up some targets over the middle for him. And he's a talented guy. I mean, he ran like a 4.5 coming out of college, coming out of Iowa, so he can get down the field in a hurry. I think Teddy Bridgewater still likes him. He still likes to throw to him, but just the last couple of weeks is leaving a lot out there. But I still think he's a trustworthy starter for the most part. We just kind of have to we have to take some of the good with the bad. There's going to be some bad weeks at tight end. That's just the nature of the position. They can't be consistent all the time. So I think he's you can still put him in there as a starting. He's still a tight end 1. He's still a tight end 8 on the season. So I'm going to say, I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm just going to say it's no cap for now.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I cautiously say that it's no cap. I want to say it's cap though, but like you pointed out, Teddy B does kind of like throwing to him, but he does like also throwing them to Albert O. Also, Albert O is going to be a thing as long as Teddy B is the quarterback because he likes throwing the tight ends and Teddy B sucks. But I mean, if I was a fan owner, I would have definitely have another tight end on my roster for sure because it's shaky with all those potential targets. Like there's 4 other dependable targets you can throw to, and we didn't even name any of the running backs. So
and just a quick note, now that we know that he's on the COVID list, obviously go out and pick up Albert O. If you don't know what his last name is, it's Okabunu, Albert Okabunu. You'll find him on your waiver wire.
Najah boy.
You'll find him on your waiver wire. He should be widely available in most leagues. I would just kind of pick him up because if Noah Fant is going to miss time, he's going to be. He's a pretty good athlete in his own right. He ran like a 4.5 as well coming out. Like he's a real big dude, like 6'6", 260.
Yep.
Coming out of Missouri, like he's a pretty big dude, and he can move too. So he showed some flashes while he was in the game earlier in the season. So I would go pick him up as well.
All right, our last one, cap or no cap, Brandon Ayuk. Is he a startable wide receiver on your fantasy rosters?
Man, this one is very near and dear to me. Is Brandon Ayuk is the startable wide receiver? I'm gonna say it's cap. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's cap. Only for the simple fact that we've seen him have a spike in usage before. I think in week 3 or week 4, I think he had 6 targets in week 3, 4 for 37 and a touchdown. And then the next week he, wet the bed, 1 for 6. So I want to see him string together multiple weeks of production before I call it no cap. He set season highs in targets, target share, catches, yards, you name it. Like he set season highs and across the board. He even had a nicely designed 2-point conversion for him. Like he was the inside slot guy, made a move on the DB, faked him out of his shoes, and then he had a little bit of a dance after scoring a little bit, after scoring the 2 points. Looks like he was having fun out there, So, I mean, if he has that swagger back and he continues to produce, then we can start to trust him. But I don't think we can trust him for now. I think it's cap.
Yeah, I have to say it's cap too. But if he's out on your waiver wires, I would at least pick him up and just wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, and then speaking of picking up and waiting to see on players, waiver wire pickups. This part we want to talk about certain players that might be looking to add on our rosters if we need a fill in or somebody that might be usable more than just a week for your bye week fill in. So I'll run down a few quarterbacks that I think that'll be useful for you at least this week. First one is Derek Carr. Um, before the bye week, he was top 3, top 4 in passing yards. He's he leads the league in downfield throws. He plays the Giants this week, and their defense is not good. So, and then with the news with Henry Ruggs, I know it's going to put a little bit of damper in terms of those downfield throws, but they do have other options in terms of challenging defenses downfield. My second one is one we talked about earlier about our boy Mike White. Is playing against the Colts defense. Their defense is definitely susceptible to the pass, playing cover 2. So they'll definitely be able to do what they did with the Bengals, which is dump it off to the running backs, dump it off to like Elijah Moore, Jay Crowder. So we'll see what happens with that. And then my last quarterback is Tua. He gets a spot start against the team that he was potentially going to get traded to with against the Texans. Yeah, talk about awkward. And then the Texans are taken. They have nobody on defense to cover anything. So pick up Tua if you need a quarterback.
Yeah, and then we'll briefly touch on running backs. We did touch on McNichols, Peterson, Deontay Foreman earlier in the wake of the Henry injury. My preferably, if I were to advise you guys to pick one up, I would go with McNichols over Peterson. You can pick up both of them, but I would prioritize McNichols because he's a better PPR asset. He's more likely to catch passes. And he's more likely to be in on third downs. Which is pretty important, which is the money down, obviously. And in PPR, if you want to utilize those assets as best as you can, those skill sets, and if he's able to catch passes, they're expected to be trailing. I think they're 7-point dogs at the Rams on Sunday night. So yeah, they're going to be trailing most of the game, and they're going to be having to pass more. They can't establish the run anymore with the way they were doing it before with Derrick Henry. So. That would be the priority for the running backs. You can pick up Ty Johnson. Look at picking up Ty Johnson as well. He had a pretty good game. He had 5 for 71 and a touchdown. Obviously, Mike White threw for 400 yards. He's probably not going to do that again. But Ty Johnson is still a good change of pace back, and he'll still be in on some passing downs, and he'll give you some standalone value in PPR. And then finally, Carlos Hyde. He is the direct replacement for James Robinson, who's day to day with an ankle/heel injury. If he misses any kind of time, I think this is a guy that you can look at. Don't spend a ton of fab on him. Just maybe a small bid here, small bid there, because we don't even know if James Robinson's going to even miss time. But just it's a name to monitor. When James Robinson went out, he played 66% of the snaps and he had 8 targets. So that's a guy that you guys need to just keep your eye on and monitor that running back situation in Jacksonville.
Yep. We talked about Brandon Ayuk and cap no cap. We'll bring it up again. If he's available on your waiver wire, you can pick him up and just a stash and hope that that the recent uptick on usage will actually continue and actually turn into something.
Yeah.
So 27% target share last week. Another person I'm looking into is Van Jefferson. The Rams are running a lot of 3 wide sets, and he is the 3rd wide receiver. And Stafford is looking at him. He's like unquestioned number 3. He had 3 for 88 last week. They just released Djax, so Atwell got hurt. He's done for the year. I would look to get Van Jefferson. And then real quick on tight ends, like we said, is just it's a wasteland. If you have somebody on bye, you can look at Dan Arnold. Dan Arnold's getting targeted. He's 74%.
Jacksonville tight end.
Yeah, Jacksonville tight end. He had 10 targets last week. 18.5% target share. That's elite for tight end, for the tight end position. Within those 10 targets, he had 8 for 68. Since week 5, basically since the week after he got there, he's been averaging 10.6 PPR points per game, which is 7th. And then also 7th in target share in that same the same time span. So he's definitely somebody you can pick up and maybe keep for the rest of the year, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, and
As
this
bad,
other,
as bad as Jacksonville is, I mean, they're going
yeah,
to continue to throw to the same people. I mean, another guy that we're kind of we skipped over this guy in receivers, but Jamal Agnew, that's another guy that you can look to pick up. It seems like he's leading. I think he's leading Jacksonville in targets, or at least he's in the top 2. That's another wide receiver you can go ahead and just try to stash on your bench. That
he's
looks like
definitely
the
leading the last 2 weeks for sure.
last 2 weeks, definitely. So yeah,
Yeah.
another guy.
And then the last tight end is Pat Firemute. Looks like since Ebrons got hurt, they basically unleashed him the last 2 games, 11 for 102 in the touchdown on 14 targets, which is 20% target share. That's elite for a tight end. And
Yeah.
Big Ben likes dumping it off. He doesn't he refuses to throw downfield. So I would definitely pick up Pat F if you can get him.
Yeah.
Now, here we'll talk about matchups that we want to attack, players that we want to look to start or pick up for this week. And this segment we call barbecue chicken. If you do not know where barbecue chicken stems from, if you watch NBA, inside the NBA preview show on TNT, your boy Shaq, whenever he sees a matchup that doesn't look favor for defense, he call it barbecue chicken alert. You go in there and go get some food.
The easy work in the post, mama's cooking, so to speak.
Yeah. my mama's yams, man.
Yeah,
mama's biscuits.
my mama biscuits.
All right, so the first matchup that we want to attack, I saw this right away, was Aaron Rodgers versus the Chiefs.
No
54, yeah, no brainer. Over under 54. The Chiefs allowed the second highest fantasy points to quarterbacks. They're 30th in pass DVOA. And Aaron Rodgers has thrown at least 2 touchdowns in every game this year, except for the first clunker that he had. So,
and just real quick note on DVOA. That's basically defense adjusted value over average. It just compares a team's success on a per play basis based on a certain metric, like again, like this is like passing yards. So it just measures like how a team is performing relative to other teams. So if they're 30th, obviously the lower you are, the worse you are. And Kansas City is 3rd worst against the pass on a per play basis. So definitely attack them. Each and every week. Hell, the Giants had a couple of chunk plays against them last night on Monday Night Football. They had a 50-yard bomb to John Ross. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of matchups there to attack in the Kansas City secondary.
Yeah, and my other one that I liked was Jonathan Taylor versus the Jets. The Jets are allowing the most fantasy points to running backs on the season so far, and Jonathan Taylor, I mean, he's averaging 20 fantasy points per game the last 5, and then within those last 5, he's also getting 19 touches per game. We know he's the goal line back, and they're getting him involved in the passing game now. So, and the Jets, they're not good at defending not much of anything, but definitely not the running back. So, barbecue chicken alert.
Yeah, just the last couple of ones we'll close out here. The Bills offense, or the Bills passing game versus the Jags. The Jags pass defense is just awful. They're just atrocious. They're 29th in yards allowed, 31st in completion rate allowed. They're 31st in yards per attempt allowed, 32nd in pass DVOA. So they're dead last in that DVOA stat that DVOA definition I just read off. They're dead last in that category. And then 31st in PFF coverage grade. So I mean, they're just the worst. And Josh Allen, Stefan Diggs, Beasley, and Emmanuel Sanders, they're gonna feast on that Jacksonville secondary.
Sure, maybe even Gabe Davis
Gabe Davis, he may get a piece of that too. So and then finally to close this out, the Rams It seems like every week we're going to be touching on the Rams, we're going to be touching on the Rams, whoever they play, and touching on the Titans defense, whoever they're up against. The Titans defense, they're allowing the most fantasy points to wide receivers. Matthew Stafford is third in yards per pass attempt, and the Rams offense, they average 30 points per game, and they're fourth in passing yards per game, and then they're the top rated offense. And obviously, we talked about Cooper Kupp, this season's current fantasy MVP. He's going to continue that historic start. He's going to get to 1,000 yards and maybe 11 touchdowns by the end of this game when it's all said and done. So yeah, those are the matchups to attack for this week.
And in our show, we like how we run down like these different stats or whatnot, talking about fantasy players and DVOA and fantasy points per game the defense is allowed. All these different stats and things like that pertaining to fantasy also tie into when we start talking about player props. And I know that's becoming a bigger and bigger thing in the fantasy space. So on our show, we want to touch on some player props via price picks that we like, and then and looking to put money on possibly. And if you have them on your rosters, then these are also players you could start too. So
start in fantasy.
Yeah. So my first one is Aaron Jones over 62.5 rushing yards. I think that's an automatic smash. One thing when you see price picks, when you get in early, their lines tend to be really friendly. And this seems a little friendly for me because they're going against KC. KC's defense is 29th in rush DVOA. So I just feel like this is just easy. Like they're just gonna. I mean, they could just run down their throat. Or I mean, if we do see Devontae back, then I mean you can definitely see Devontae get some action too.
And Aaron Jones, just real quick, and Aaron Jones, I mean, he's capable of ripping off 50-yard runs anyway.
Yeah.
So he can literally get this on one carry if he would like. So
Yeah.
we haven't seen that as many long runs from Aaron Jones this year, but we know one of those weeks he's going to go bonkers. And I think the last time he played the Chiefs in 2019, he had quite a few of long gains against the Chiefs. So I think, he's due for a smash, a smash spot against Kansas City.
Yeah, and then my second one was Jonathan Taylor over 0.5 rush touchdowns. Like I said before, the Jets have allowed the most points to fantasy running backs. And JT, like I said before, has had at least averaging 19 touches per game the last 5 and 20 fantasy points per game in that same span. So, and Jets,
he scored in 5 straight games. So
yeah. So it's the Jets. So
yeah. And the last two ones we have here, Michael Carter over 4.5 catches. From what we saw last week, Mike White loves throwing checkdowns. We can bet on this. I don't know confidently to continue, but I mean, if it's something that that he has a tendency of doing, at least they showed the first game. I mean, we can go back to the well until he shows us that it's not the case. So 4.5 catches seems kind of light for him. And Michael Carter, again, he's been very involved. He's been the most he's had the most opportunities in that backfield. His usage is obviously ramping up. So I think this is a number that can easily go over, especially when they're going to be trailing, potentially trailing in this game. And then finally, we have Stefan Diggs over 80.5 receiving yards. They're playing the Jags, and you kind of touched on how bad the Jags defense is. They can't really stop anybody. They just gave up a lot of yards to Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. I think over 250 plus yards to them total. So I think that's an easy. I think that and Geno Smith was throwing them passes. So and then we have Josh Allen throwing Stefan Diggs passes. So I think this is an easy over for Stefan Diggs. He's only hit that number twice this year, but again, he's getting the target share. He's over 25% target share. So it's again, he's due for some regression. He has scored touchdowns in back-to-back weeks, so that's another thing that can help him as well. So we'll see Stefan Diggs get over that number, 80 and a half.
Yo, we done.
We did
That's the end of the show. It was the first one.
First of many, sir. First of many.
Yeah, first of many. Before we close this thing out, you got anything to say to the people?
Yeah, just we appreciate you hanging around, for this hour. Listening to our fantasy advice. Hopefully, you guys learned something, got some actionable information, and things that can help you guys conquer your leagues and get a step ahead of your leagues. Follow us on Twitter. Follow Gene at Fantasy Genes. Follow me on Twitter as well, just_Ico9, and then follow the show at Off the Line FF on Twitter. And subscribe, like, rate, review. Wherever podcasts can be found, Apple, Spotify, Google, anywhere you can find podcasts. Again, subscribe, rate, review.
Yeah, man. Again, like we said, this is Off the Line Fantasy Football Podcast, and we'll be back next week to talk to you good people. Until then, be safe and go get some W's.
Peace. Good luck. Week 9. We on deck.